Hi guys, this is Jim the Life Coach. This is a new podcast. This is one that I did a little while ago. And I thought I'd dig it up and, show you guys. Hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. I just want to have a little shout out at the end. So once it's finished, stay tuned. We're going to do a little shout out section because I haven't done it yet. So I want to say thank you so much for your listeners. And we're going to just shout out a few bits and pieces at the end. All right. So anyway, this is Asha. He's done an ad on my site already. And he's got his journey coming up soon. But I thought I'd introduce you guys to him. He's going to talk about the film When They See Us. It's a film that's on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's a very, very good film. It's split into three or four parts, I think it is. So, have a listen. And obviously let me know how you feel. Anyway, let's relax. Let's listen to Asha. And this is his review. Oh, a little bit of mine as well. Of When They See Us.
GM, the Life Coach.
Hi guys, this is GM, the Life Coach. I'm here with my main man, Asha Webb. I ain't seen this guy in ages. But now I kind of commandeered him in his house. Like, I had to come to him, come up some big long wheel and everything to get to his house. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, mate. Really good. Good to see you. Yeah, man. Good to see you because I ain't seen you for a very long time. But yeah, I'm ready to do this. Yeah, I know we want to get this done, so yeah. You know what I mean? I'm an open book for you.
Good. He's really nervous before. I have to go toilet and everything. But but no, so we're going to talk about When They See Us, yeah? And as an upstanding black man as you are, we both work with young men and children. Yeah. What were your feelings watching that particular thing on Netflix?
Wow, my feelings. Well, first of all, my name's Asha Webb. And yes, I'm of Afro-Caribbean descent. But answer to your question is When They See Us in Netflix? When I watched that, there's a lot of emotions that came for me. I think there was a lot of emotion that resonated with me. I affiliated with it, especially with the individuals, because they seem to be probably around my age group. I'm about 40. I'm 43, and I think they're around that same sort of age bracket. So, from they were young, growing up, down to the music and everything, I could affiliate with that. I found it very powerful. I mean, even at the time, growing up and so forth, I never knew about this story, what happened in America. I think it was 1989. So you're unawares, you're living your life here in the UK and so forth. And then the only first notion of it is when I watched this, I was, what's this title about? And I saw a couple of stuff on social media. I was like, I need to get to grips with this. Let me watch this thing. And I was taken aback. And that 4-part, I think I literally sat and watched all of them, thinking probably I'll just watch part 1 and then watch another day. But I was so engrossed, It really, resonated with me.
What part got you the most? And what part kind of gripped you that made you want to watch more? What was it?
I think what gripped me and what made it, I think it was well directed, it was well scripted, the visual was brilliant, the intensity, the atmosphere, and the characters. I think they really got the right type of characters for those for that show, for that film. Sorry. The part for me resonated is that how young they were, especially seeing that boy that was 14 and whatever, and you're just like, and the police questioning these young individuals, and I think what really kind of gripped me in a way, I don't know if it's opposite to maybe what people may feel, but what I was more was like the parents. Where are these parents? How did these they get to interrogate these kids without the parents? You saw one that was there and stopped the interview and so forth, but asking where's everybody else? And you don't have to be educated and so forth to know, find your kids, see where they are, get into that police station, you know what I mean? Because legally you can't do what they did. So I think that kind of engaged me. So then I was just like gripped and wanted to know, what was going to happen next, so to speak.
So as a black man, do you think if you were that age, how would you reckon you would have survived in that situation if you'd been told that you'd done something that you didn't do and you had to you know, you went through the trial, you had to do the video, basically admit that you did something that you didn't do.
Yeah.
How do you think you would have been?
It's funny because you said to me, as a black man, I mean, I think throughout my life, I don't really I don't put that label as in, oh, because I'm a black person. I just put myself as Asha, you know. I'm this person called Asha. And that type of environment, what happened there, how would I have dealt with it? I feel that maybe, I don't want to say that I'm educated enough or more common sense enough to know or how to handle that situation. I couldn't say that I would know how to handle that situation because it's something that once you're in it, you don't know how you're going to react. For example, you could be crossing the road, car's coming fast on you, you're thinking, I'm just going to jump out of the way, I'm going to run across the road. But sometimes when you're in that moment, you can freeze, you know? So for me, like I said to you, it was very kind of emotional, a bit kind of raw, where you think, you know, something that could easily have been myself, you know, being accused of something, and you screaming to the heavens, being accused of something that you haven't done, you know. Someone could take me right now and say, you've murdered this person. I'm like, what are you talking about, you know? And my thing is, it was about the evidence, and it just wasn't there, you know. And I felt that was very kind of powerful, and I didn't understand how, you know, adults, regardless creed, colour, whatever, could treat individuals like that, you know? Whether you're black, white, Latino and so forth, how could you treat, these are children.
Yeah, they saw them as animals, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was the point. And it's again, sometimes the prejudice can run so deep that we're not looking at them as human beings or children, that, you know, like you say, you might be looking at them like they're animals or they're just not worth anything, you know? And that, I think the most potent thing for me was in the first part when the mother of one of the kids is like, shame on you, you're a woman, like, you know, where's your kind of nurturing type element? Because as much as like, there's equal rights as women and men and so forth, I do believe that women have more of that nurturing sort of thing. So when you had that superintendent or whatever she may have been, you know, role raiding just to pick up any type of kids, to get somebody to be prosecuted regarding that incident, that for me was quite powerful.
I think what got me is watching, you know, the last one, I think it was part 4, where one of them was in jail. It was solitary confinement. I don't know whether I could have lasted in that situation. I probably would have went nutty, long time, ran myself into the wall, knocked myself out, kill myself. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
What kind of emotions did it evoke for you?
I think you just triggered my memory back to that, because I looked at that and I'm thinking, that guy, he's still around, he's still there, because as me as an individual, I don't know if I'd be able to cope. And maybe I have to say, you know, something, that guy's got a lot of character, a lot of strength within himself, especially like, you know, some of the things that have meant to have happened. I know sometimes when they do these sort of documentaries, some things are sensationalized, but, you know, it seemed like some of these things happened to him, you know, but getting beat up and other sorts of misdemeanors that happened to him. But what took it back and what was more potent for me was he wasn't even one of the originals. He was just a person that came down to the station on support of his friend. He wasn't deemed as one to be, to be picked up and so forth. And if anything, he probably was the one who became the worst off, you know, by the length of time that he was in prison and so forth. I think I would have gone a bit doolally, or, you know, like you said, being in solitary confinement. But to be honest with you, at that point in time, from what was happening, it probably was the safest place for him. So he's away from everybody else, but that could not have been easy at all whatsoever.
So over here, we have young men being picked up, some of them getting, you know, don't leave the station, you know, beaten up in the station. If you had a son, you haven't got sons yet, but if you had a son, what kind of advice would you give right now?
If I had a son, my thing is about instilling you to know about the laws of the country, so to speak. You know, it's not like learning it, you know, like a robotic blow by blow, but knowing what your rights are, and also knowing how to conduct yourself, not the way how they expect you to conduct yourself. I think that's the key thing, not to conduct yourself how you expect to be conducted, you know? And show that you've been brought up right, you've been instilled with the right foundation, so to speak. You know, I think having that type of information, that type of upbringing, I think that would go far. Because I felt watching that as well, I think maybe one or two of them didn't really have that proper support network from their parents, as in to, you know, if they was in that type of situation. I think one of them did, you know, with the mum and so forth, to know what was right and how to articulate themselves in that situation. You know, because I think the normal thing really would be just to say no comment all the way, and no matter how they were pushing, no matter how they were mistreating you, and if they, I can say that now in light, but like I said, I'm not in that environment. If they're putting their hands on you and so forth, but you know, there's no way that I'm going to make any kind of statement or want my child to make any kind of statement that they did something that they didn't do. Hence why I was a bit unnerved with that parent, even though they were saying, oh, about your workplace, oh yeah, we're going to, you know, talk to your workplace and you like that job and so forth. There's no way.
But remember, they did have another young daughter, and so he did have to kind of provide a house.
That's the point. But what, to the detriment of your son? I just don't think that. And I understood why the son had that resentment for him right until nearly up to his death.
He still has, actually.
Yeah, I couldn't. You know, I couldn't do that to my son. I want you to lie. You know. After I brought you up to be, you know, this type of person, you know, and it's not like, oh, lie because, oh, just tell them that you took that pack of sweets. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something so sinister, you know, raping a woman and battering her and so forth. There's no way. And then knowing full well that your son hasn't done it. You know, whatever happens to myself or the consequences, so be it. That's just how I'd feel about it. You know, hopefully, you know, that situation never happens with, you know, whatever child that I have and so forth. But I believe that I wouldn't want them to try to own it for something they haven't done. That's my viewpoint.
Do you think, last question, do you think that as we're in the UK and we've got like Boris Johnson coming in, do you think, not to make it too political, but do you think our country will go down the similar lines of that kind of, where, you know, races, I mean, all the races are a big thing in politics and all the races is a big thing in, you know, police and whatever, but do you think it will be that deep where, you know, luckily our police don't have guns, but do you think it will get to a point where, you know, they will eventually give them guns, and do you think that, or do you think that they will just take more liberties with young men or young, you know, sometimes young girls and women?
For me, you're talking about taking liberties and so forth, but if you empower yourselves as individuals, then they're unable to take liberties with you. And that's what I feel. If people empowered by what they know and what they should know regarding the laws or how you conduct yourself, then people are unable to do that. That you could talk about your workplace and so forth. You could have your boss that, you know, wants to try and take liberties with you, wants you to do more hours, wants you to do this and that. But if you don't, wait a minute, you've employed me to do this and that, you're within your rights, you know.
But I'm saying it more as a time where you don't have that particular moment, like, you know, like you see in America sometime where people are doing a normal thing and they go into the shop or whatever, or they're driving their car, they get pulled over, next thing you know, a gun's pulled on them or whatever. Like, do you think that kind of stuff will happen? You know, where you don't get that chance to talk and say, well, actually, you've employed me,
I don't think we're at that point. I mean, maybe because the UK is, you know, it's totally, as you say, like the police don't have guns and so forth. Maybe that's a good thing about how the UK is and so forth. I don't think it'll get to that extreme, and I hope that it doesn't get to that extreme. But like I said, I think it's still about empowering yourself, you know, if you get stopped and so forth, because no matter what, let's be realistic, racism is never going anywhere. It's always going to be there. But it's about how you're able to maneuver within that territory, so to speak. Because racism is not just about black people.